Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Shepherd's Corner. And yes, we're having conversations with Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon. And we're having these conversations, and some of these conversations are all united in one voice with the Holy Church. And the quote that, I'd like to start with in his article says, each of us has a part to play in caring for our common home. It is a vocation. I want you all to hear that word. It is a vocation and a moral responsibility. Good evening, Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon. How are you?
I'm doing real good, I am here, alive, well, and wonderful. And I like to see you like Adam.
I'm in the garden.
You in the garden. You in the garden.
I'm not hiding, though. They can see me. But I'm not hiding.
I didn't finish the song, Adam in the garden hiding. I just said you're in the garden. Very good.
Well, I noticed you're giving us some Greek to learn. It's Oikos, our home, and our family. Did I get that right?
You got that right. Oikos.
Oikos. So yeah. Why a season of creation? That's my question.
Well, between September the 1st and October the 4th, Christians on 6 continents are coming together for a time of restoration, hope, a jubilee for our earth, to discover new ways of living with creation, a time to remember our call to care for our common home. Now, when Pope Francis wrote Laudato Si back in 2015, which is 6 years ago, he did something magnificent. He called the earth our common home. And think about it. That's exactly what it is. So just like your house is the common home of your family, the earth is the common home of the human family. And by making that play, oikos is house or home. And we'll see how the meaning goes later. But by making the play to move the planet to our common home, moves the thinking about how we care for it from something that is dispensable, something that we could discard, to something that we have to have an intimate relationship with, and something that we have to look at how we use and preserve it. So this is why it's a time for restoration, for hope, a jubilee for our earth, to discover new ways of living with creation. Restoration because we've done some significant damage to it, really serious damage. Hope because all the scientific reports are suggesting that we are in a kind of our irreversible situation right now, where the damage that we're doing now would be unlikely to be reversed in our lifetime. A jubilee for the earth, because a jubilee is when you give the earth a space to catch itself and to regenerate itself. Every jubilee year, the earth was laid fallow for an entire year, so that the earth could catch itself again and produce crops the next time.
I like what you said, to discover new ways of living with creation. Boy, I thought we had all the right ways of living with creation, but it doesn't seem so, because we've not been doing a good job. And I see where we're looking at to discover new ways of living with creation. Maybe with all our progress, one of the things that jumps in my mind, all of these flat screen TVs, electronics, plastics, which are new creations, we've not been dealing with them properly. We've been discarding them any and everywhere. And so it's almost like I will agree with you that we have to discover new ways of living with creation.
All right. Because they just think of the kind of flooding we've been having. That tells you something. Eh?
Yeah.
We've not had this kind of flooding before.
Yeah. Some people are saying, I have lived here for 50 years and I've never seen flooding like this.
Right. New York recently.
Yeah.
I mean, that's brand new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So why? And this is a question that we have to ask, because nature really, has to be respected. There's an old saying, God always forgives. Humans sometimes forgives. Nature never forgives.
I've heard that.
So what you do against nature really needs to be undone, because nature deals more with justice and mercy. With God, you have a great chance at mercy. With humans, you have a 50-50. With nature, 0. And so we have to understand that our impact upon nature is not just for us and how it will affect me or you. It is how it's going to affect the next generation and the generation after. And that's the question that we have to start asking. And the regeneration of nature for the sake of the generations that are coming. Remember, this is our common home, Oikos.
Yeah.
This is our common home.
But, a couple of shows ago, I was thinking about, I think it was in last week's show when we were talking about discipline, tolerance, and production.
Yes.
And sometimes I really feel that people are not conscious of what they're doing and how it is affecting the rest of the planet by our indiscipline. Because here we could put it straight, we could put that one of those watchwords right inside into this taking care of the planet, our common home.
You're eating something, you done eat, you just throw it out on the ground.
Yeah.
You're drinking a bottle or something, throw it in the gutter. You finish with your fridge, throw it in the drain. Stove, TV, next flood, all gone down. When then the river gets blocked up because of the debris we put, and it gets blocked up and starts to flood everybody, now we want to know why we're having flood. But it's our indiscipline that has created some of this problem. And that's what we have to come to terms with if we're going to do this differently.
I see you're leading off with, we had a day of prayer on September the 1st for the creation. So you spoke, your article came out and said, okay, September the 1st is a day of prayer for creation. And you're saying, and October the 4th is the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi.
And Francis is the man for creation. Eh?
Yes.
Well, Sister Moon. He's a man who is ecologically harmonious.
Yeah.
He is really in harmony with everything in creation. And so that's why these two dates are the time for the season of creation, between the day of prayer and the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi.
It's amazing too that our Holy Father would choose Francis as his name, as, and it ties right in, Laudato Si and so on. So he is linking his association with St. Francis,
In everything he does, even in Fratelli Tutti, he links back to Pope Francis, to St. Francis, because he's seeing that fraternal relationship that Francis embodies. So yes, that's really his mentor, his icon, his guiding star.
Yeah. Now, you said this year's theme is a home for all, renewing the oikos of God.
A home for all, because we sometimes think that that the earth is ours to do with, to abuse with, to do what we want with, not considering anybody else. And by saying it's our common home, it's a reminder to everyone that this home is for everyone, not for some. The goods of the earth have been given for all people. That's been a staple of Catholic social teaching. So it's saying that this is for all people, everybody, not only people who are alive right now, but the generations to come, because they're going to inherit it from us. So when you're doing things to your home, you don't have to think only of you or your children, but also your grandchildren and the generations to come. So you don't make it like a pigsty and mash it up and let it go to rack and ruin, because you want to preserve it, not just that while you are alive you have it, but you want to hand it on in a better condition for the next generation too. And so that's what the theme is about. And then renewing the oikos of God. Now the Greek word oikos comes from the English prefix eco, as in ecology or economy, and it has 3 interconnected meanings. So it could be the family, the family's property, and the house of the family. So it is this beautiful word that has this 3 interconnected meanings. So it is the family of God, which is a beautiful way of thinking. But it could also be the family's property, the earth, or the family's house, which is still the earth, this common home that shelters all of us. And from this perspective, the theme this year is seeking renewal of God's family, of the family's property, and of our common home, the earth. So I love how it plays in the 3 levels.
Yeah.
Because we are God's family. Mm-hmm. But the earth is the family's property. And it's also our common home. And so the play on the oikos, I think is a beautiful play to help us to think creation in another way.
Well, I like what you just said, to help us to think. And I think that most of our challenges are we don't think things all the way through. It's like you just spoke about the guy throwing his fridge in the river, and I see it. They throw their fridge in the river, they'll throw their old stove down the hill. So you're driving over, and I want to call the places, you might be driving over Mount Coco, and you will see, if you just only stop and look over, you'll see fridges, you'll see stoves, right over. Oh, you'll see tires, and then we want to know why we have dengue, because they will be catching all the water during this rainy season. And I think as human beings, we're not thinking all the way through, or I may come back and I will talk about Ubuntu,
All right.
And say, well, okay, we have to think about the common good. If I'm okay, if you're okay, then I should be okay, and so on. So that whole thinking has to be, no, I want to go back. I think we should think things through. And education to me is the key to help people think all the way through, because maybe they're not doing that. And it has become a learned thing, a habit of, you go and you buy your whatever, your food, you drop it on the ground. You drink your soft drink, it's in a plastic thing. Boy, rather than look for the next garbage can, you drop it on the drain.
Yeah. But it is again back to what you said, indiscipline. Back to indiscipline. And as a nation, that's an area where we have some growth to do. We have to grow in discipline. We have to become a more disciplined people. So commenting on the theme for this year, the official website says, the psalmist proclaims, the earth is the Lord's and all that is in it. The earth is the Lord's and all there is in it. So the earth is this beautiful home that belongs to God. And the beautiful home that belongs to God is and that's why the three meanings of Oikos. The first is the family of God. So we are part of what is the Lord's. But the earth is the Lord's, the house is the Lord's. But the house is our family house. So it's a beautiful play on images, that if we understood this way, then we have to take care of it the same way you want to take care of your house, the same way you have to take care of the earth.
I'm going back to the psalmist, and you say there are two statements of faith at the heart of this song. The first is that every creature belongs to the earth community. That's beautiful. The second is that the entire community belongs to the Creator. That,
absolutely,
you know,
that is, and it's so beautiful. Huh? The earth is the Lord's and all that is in it. The earth is the Lord's and all that is in it. Yes, because it says that every creature belongs to the earth community. And that means that we all belong to God. We all belong to the Creator, to God. It was because of that that Pope Francis coined the term our common home to refer to the earth, because he sees the earth as this marvelous gift that has been given to us from God, not for me or for you, but for all the citizens of the earth. The whole family of the earth was given this gift. And not only was the family given the gift, but it was given to use so that we keep it for the next generation and the generation after also. So it's a wonderful way of thinking about the earth as an inheritance from God.
I know that you've traveled a lot, Archbishop G. And I know you would have seen, differences in different places that you've been. Some may have been spotlessly clean, some would have been, like a rubbish bin, So what's the difference in the thinking? What's the difference in the thinking between those that you've been to and you said, wow, look at how beautiful and clean, look at how they care for the environment, that kind of thing, versus other places?
See Switzerland?
Yeah.
You could have a picnic on any park, and everything is spotless, and everything is in place, and the grass is measured when they cut it, and the flowers or in the summertime the flowers are always so symmetrical and so beautiful, and it tells about the care that they have for themselves. Okay. When we give good care to our creation, is because we're caring, we have a love for us. And all of us, especially when it's a public space. Because we're caring for it, for everyone to be able to enjoy it.
Boy, I'm gonna throw in something here. I know that sometimes in marriage and our marriage ceremony, we tell the husband to love his wife as he loves his body,
Yeah.
So I want to extend that. Maybe we don't love ourselves. Maybe that's why we're treating the environment the way we are.
So badly.
Yeah.
And when we rape the planet, what then happens is that it can't regenerate itself. And that's what we're lamenting. Now, by rooting our theme in the concept of oikos, we point to the integral web of relationships that sustain the well-being of the earth. The word ecology describes the relationships between animals, plants, non-insects, organisms, the material, the minerals, that each play a vital role in maintaining the balance in this beloved community we call Earth. And that web of life that is interconnected, if any part of the web goes out, the whole chain gets into trouble. And each one depends on the other one. And so when you use certain things to kill off certain parts of the chain, you don't understand how that affects other parts of the chain and creates problems for yourself later on, because you yourself have disrupted the chain by your human intervention. And then you have to come back now and find an artificial way to mend what you have disrupted when it was in perfect harmony and sync before.
You know, I had a conversation with a gentleman, you know, and and it reflects exactly what you're saying here, you know, talking about the biodiverse ecosystem and the balance, and humans belong in the right relationship with this earth. He is part of what we call his business was what is called pest control, you know, and he says, no, we've changed that. It's now called pest management, because recognizing that
you can't control it.
Not only that, but some of the same things that we call pests, they also add value to the ecological system. So if you kill off all the ants, then guess what will happen? If you destroy all the bees, guess what will happen? You know, so in terms of how he looked at it, and you know, watching their whole association say, no, it's no longer pest control, it's pest management, because we all have to live on this planet, and everybody has a role that God created.
Correct.
I found, you know, the snakes that you want to run down. Guess what? Yeah. They control the rodents, the rats, the mice.
And when the snakes go, the rodents come.
That's right.
So it's just a web of life. It's all interconnected. It's all, and that's why Pope Francis speaks about the integral ecology.
Yeah.
That we are dependent upon nature in a way that we don't quite understand. So you damage nature. What happens then to the humans going forward? And that's what he's speaking about. So he says humans belong in the right relationship with this earth community. We are made from the same stuff of the earth and are created and cared for by our co-creatures and by the land. So the other creatures, like ourselves, care for us. That's how we eat. That's how we drink. That's how we find shelter. That's how we have clothes. That's how we do what we do. And so the right relationship between humans and the earth, that's what we're really celebrating. That's what we're talking about when we say Oikos, our home, our family.
You talked about the rich reflection that speaks to the integral ecology of Pope Francis's Laudato Si. And I want to encourage people, you know, Papa Francis is the Peter of our time, and he has put out such rich, rich documents for the church, in collaboration with listening to everybody, you know, the families, listening to, you know, the planet and what's going on. And I want to encourage you all to please read it. It's very easy. You know, you could go onto the website, you could search Pope Francis and all his encyclicals and his writings and so on. I encourage you, this is part of Catholic education.
Yep. The teachings of the apostles. That's what we're supposed to be looking at. So when he talks about integral ecology, he's saying that everything is interconnected with everything else.
Yeah.
And we are part of the everything that is interconnected. And therefore, we are not here to dominate and to abuse or to rape the earth. We are here to till and to guard, or to till and to keep. And that's a image of caring and of guarding, of nurturing and of setting boundaries for. Is not an image about domination. It was never intended that the human should dominate the earth. That was a very bad translation that came from an industrialized civilization that wanted to dominate everything. But that's not a good translation of the original language. And so to guard and to keep is a much better translation, because both of the words give us a sense of the boundaries, but also of the nurturing that we're supposed to do. It's what a farmer does for his garden. What does a farmer do? He makes sure that nobody encroaches on the land, but he also tills the soil and fertilizes and turns it up and makes sure that it is ready for production. So guard and keep is the words that the Genesis use in understanding what the relationship between the human and the land is. And it's the ones that we have to reflect upon.
You talked about our habits, our consumption habits, the use of the natural resources, and we're seeing it. I was listening to just a documentary, or maybe it was a news report, talking about, the different species of fish that were endangered, and may become extinct. They were talking about, well, they're now seeing, the tuna is coming back, the yellowfin, the bluefin tuna, but they were saying that the sharks have been overfished, and therefore they are in danger, of becoming extinct because of the overfishing.
Boy, you better go and tell Maracas be that.
Tell the part of the road. But I'm hoping with the lockdown and everything like that, and nobody up on the beaches.
We give them a little chance.
The sharks got a little chance to come back up.
We give them a little chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, we humans have acted as if creation is there to be exploited for our gain. And it's not. It's there as a gift to us, not exploitation. And I think that's something that we have to come to terms with, that our relationship with creation is not one of exploitation. The same way our relationship with another human being should never be one of exploitation. It should be fraternal relationship, fratelli tutti. That fraternal bond that binds humans together in this common home that we call Earth. That's where Pope Francis is carrying us. Now, because of our actions, the planet is sick. We are not giving it the time to heal. There's much wisdom in the biblical mandate of Jubilee year, when the land is allowed to rest every 50 years. And in resting every 50 years, the land is allowed to regenerate itself and find a new creativity, find a new pathway, and allow the soil and the animals and the land. And maybe this COVID time has been like a jubilee for the land, because we've had to let it go fallow for a good while.
I remember last year, it must have been last year when we were talking, and they were seeing, animals coming back,
yes.
Crazy things. I mean, like, wow, we haven't seen this before. It's been years. And I remember, and I want to make a parallel discussion about that. I remember bird keepers, because I love to keep birds also. And we were seeing a big reduction in terms of your chickie-chongs, in terms of your semps, in terms of your picoplats. And guys related that to the spraying and the overspraying on the sugarcane fields.
Oh,
and then when we went out of sugarcane production, what they recognized is, wow, we all came back. They all came back. They all came back. And that's, giving it time to heal. We also had shut down hunting for a couple of years too.
Yes.
And the hunters were saying, wow, they noticed that, while there was this moratorium against hunting, they also recognized the animals were coming back. The females were having babies, they were getting time to mature, and so on, because guys were not listening to, okay, we are only going to be hunting between November and whatever the date is. They were hunting right through.
Correct. And once we pillage the earth, then it does not have time to regenerate. Then it can't give us its best. It just can't. So there is an ecological crisis, whether we like it or we don't like it. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they have a report that was released on August 9th, 2021. And upon its release, the UN Secretary General described the report as a code red for humanity.
Wow.
As serious, code red for humanity. The report states global warming is dangerously close to spiraling out of control. It warned that the world is already certain to face further climate disruptions for decades, if not centuries to come, and concludes that humans are unequivocally to blame.
Wow. They're not saying anything else. They say we are the ones to blame.
It. We are the menace. We are like the virus that has created this problem. We are like the microbe attacking the body politic of the whole earth. And that's a damning report. But when they use language that is so strong, global warming is dangerously close to spiraling out of control, that the world is already certain to face further climate disruptions for decades, if not centuries to come. That means that we can't reverse this thing even in decades to come. Decades can't reverse this.
And yet you would have people saying that climate change and the effect of our consumption is rubbish and political. And I wonder what world are they living in? What planet they're living in? Are they seeing it?
Open your eyes and see. But look at how the climate has changed around us in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, our rainy season this year has been crazy.
Yeah.
The storms, last year they ran out of letters and they had to go back to AA,
yes, yeah,
AB to get enough names to keep up with the storms. We've had a couple storm effects here. Barbados, I know, had 2 minor storms hit Barbados, which is not usual. So look at all the unusual that's been happening. In 2013, I remember Christmas Eve night, there was a deluge, the heavens opened and water came pouring down. And that night was Christmas Eve. We were supposed to have mass. We had to call off the mass. And a couple of people died because of the floods. So we are in a serious predicament. And we need to recognize that part of this is human error. And that we have to correct that. And we have to do much better than this.
I don't know if you mentioned that the report, the IPCC report, draws on more than 14,000 scientific studies.
Yeah, this is not one report. This is an amalgamation of top scientific reports on climate change in our time, and it's really a profound document that reads with some very deep teeth in terms of what we as humans need to do to preserve our planet.
Here we come back to the science.
We have to reuse.
Yeah.
The reuse. We have to really work for the harmony with the creation and not enter into antagonism with it.
Global temperatures. I don't know about you, but I hear people complaining all the time. Boy, I have this place is, I've
Red hot.
never experienced this heat in all my life, never experienced this heat, you know. And so people are saying it's hotter than they've ever experienced before.
Yeah, our global temperature has risen by 1.1 degrees centigrade since the pre-industrial times. Now, this same report we're talking about, it warns unless immediate, rapid, and large-scale action is taken to reduce emissions, the average global temperature is likely to reach or cross the 1.5 threshold. Well, when you cross the 1.5 degrees threshold, then we put the Earth into catastrophe. This that we're talking about is really a serious thing, so that warning the threshold within 20 years, we can cross the 1.5 degree threshold from pre-industrial time, which would send the world in a particular spiral of out of control in terms of the global challenge that we're facing and how we live in that challenge. That's the real thing. The consequence of it, I believe, will be disastrous. However, we try to make this palatable.
But they're saying that the temperature, the global temperatures have already risen by 1.1. So that means to say we don't have far to go, you know. We only have a 0.4.
0.4 to go consistently. And we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
The report says that unless, and people listening outside, unless immediate, rapid, and large-scale action is taken to reduce emissions, the average global temperature is likely to reach or cross the 1.5 degrees Celsius warming threshold within 20 years. And you know, friends, 20 years
blink.
Comes in a blink.
There's a blink a week and a nod, and you done reach 20 years already.
Yeah.
They say the consequences are disastrous. So the AC bishops, we made a statement some years ago, 2015, a declaration on climate change. And the statement says, we recognize that climate change represents a significant threat to the sustainability of the Caribbean. As we know it, the Caribbean is going to change because of climate change, as we know the Caribbean right now. Our nations are already impacted by unusually heavy rainfall, warmer temperatures, prolonged periods of drought, rising sea levels, and the prospect of more intense storm events. Now, in Jamaica, there's already a village that was lost to rising sea levels. You know that?
No, I didn't.
A whole village just gone because of rising sea levels. When they built it, they said, nah, man, we good to go. Well, the water came up and has taken that village back. And now they're trying to secure pieces of it. But they know what that is. For a village to go because of the rising of the sea. I want you to think, you know, they say that if all the ice melts in the Antarctic, if all the ice melts, we could have a rise of as much as 5 to 6 feet of water. Do you know how many properties on seafront are not 6 feet above sea level in just Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes, yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Westmoreland is below, is just above sea level, not 6 feet.
Yeah. And our brothers in Sealots, they're not above 6 feet either.
No. Tobago will have, what I'm saying is, and what the bishops are saying, is that if we don't understand climate change, then we will understand the impact on us. Our nations are already impacted by unusual heavy rainfall, warmer temperatures, prolonged periods of drought, rising sea levels, and the prospect of more intense storms. Now, if we get anything more intense of a storm than what we have gotten, then we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Our region is the second most vulnerable to rising sea levels anywhere in the world. Because we have fragile island economies that run on one economy, but the sustainability of it is based on having access to the sea. So many of the seafront properties are not 6 feet above sea level.
Yeah. And we right here in Trinidad, I mean, we experience that in certain places like Cedros and so on, where homes have been lost, you know. I mean, I felt like, you know, right outside there was my house. You know, and you say, wow, and there are certain people who they tell me that their estates, you know, that they're seeing the sea encroaching by about 12 feet per year. 12 feet per year on their property.
I think up in Cedros that is happening.
Yeah.
That's a lot of, if you have 100 feet, that's 1,200 feet a year.
It's
you have 100 feet long.
Yes.
That's a lot of land.
Yeah.
But the rising seas is one of the first ones that we have to look at in terms of understanding the challenge with the environment and what has gone wrong and what we need to do.
So if our region, I mean, and all the AEC bishops got together, you all discussed this in 2015. So what's the plan? What is the plan? What's the plan for Trinidad and Tobago in this season of creation?
Well, in 2010, the Catholic Commission for Social Justice issued a draft framework towards an environmental policy for the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Port of Spain. And it's there, it's on the books. I'm going to resurrect it and start asking, okay, what do we do to get ourselves closer to this? How do we turn this thing to our own good for us who know and understand? And what that means is that we have to make the policy mind and heart for the average Catholic, so that the average Catholic both knows the policy and is understanding why we're making the choices we're making, raising the discipline, becoming a better version of themselves, and finding ways to pass the faith along.
I hope you all have a plan for all our Catholic schools, you know, just to remind them. Yeah,
every year we've had great participation from the schools. Really amazing. And that's worked. And they're being pulled forward into this next year, where we will do this season of creation in this new way. But the schools have to be critical to this.
Yeah, because you know, sometimes they are the students or the young ones that teach the elder ones, you know. Daddy, you know, you're not supposed to be throwing your box of so and so in the garbage, I mean on the street. They teach parents, and say, but oh gosh, you know, I didn't think about that. Say, Daddy, we learned this in school, that the plastics, when you throw them in the drain, what they do is they go down and they clutter all of the underground drains, and next thing you know, that's why town flooding and you couldn't reach home last night.
Yes, and they get in it, then they get in sharper. And what we have to do is teach the children so that this generation and the next generation will be a lot sharper in terms of where we need to go as church and where the season of creation needs to take us. So the aim of the policy that we have on our books, the aim of the policy was to invite Catholics to pray, to learn, to assess, to act, and to advocate on behalf of our planet. And these are all important and powerful verbs, but the first one is to pray, then learn, then assess, act, and advocate on behalf of the planet. Because the planet needs an advocate, that is for sure. And if we don't give our voice to it and we don't make it important, how will other people understand the importance of the planet for us, the people of God?
I want to advocate something again. I want to advocate, and teachers, I know that there are many teachers outside there listening to this, because, you know, they commented a lot about His Grace's conversation last week about discipline, tolerance, and production of our watchwords. So here what? Why don't you all get into a little TikTok some creativity about Laudato Si and sell and be able to teach your students, let them get involved in a little TikTok, competition about protecting the environment, looking at the encyclical. I think that would be fantastic.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So the encyclical Laudato Si, which is written by Pope Francis in the 2015s, it's this landmark document. So it calls us to ecological conversion. How you like that? Calling you to ecological conversion. Change the ways of your heart and respond to God. So that's what he's putting in place. So we need to remember the Pope Francis' words and take them to heart. Living our vocation to be the protectors of God's handiwork is essential to a life of virtue. It is not an optional or secondary aspect of our Christian experience. Each of us has a part to play in calling our people back to this. So each of us playing our part will come to the common good, this whole. And he says it is a
vocation, boy. It is a vocation.
Moral responsibility.
I love that, It is a vocation and moral responsibility.
It is a vocation. It is a moral responsibility. It is both a vocation and a moral responsibility. That's a very powerful word. Living our vocation to be protectors of God's handiwork is essential to a life of virtue. In other words, you can't talk virtue if you're not protecting creation. You can't talk virtue if you're wasting your water.
Yeah.
If you're throwing your rubbish all over the place. If you're just leaving on electricity and burning electricity willy-nilly and not worrying about everybody else and the needs of the country. You can't talk vocation if we don't have this understanding and care for our work.
You can't have this vocation if you take your rubbish and dump it on the hill. If you throw your tires over the precipice so nobody will see you, right? Because you don't want to go and dispose of it properly. You can't be a vocation if you're operating in a mechanic shop and you're draining the old oil from an engine and you just pour it down the drain. That's not, or your batteries, you dispose of it and they're lead batteries and you dispose of it in the dump. It cannot be a vocation.
No, it cannot. It cannot. It cannot. It's important that we start understanding what role we have played in creating the problem and the role we need to play in having the solutions. So for the last few years, our archdiocese has celebrated the season of creation. Look at the event and all the events that are available. And what I'm asking people is please participate in some event around the season of creation. We have a lot of them going. We need to learn more about what we can do as individuals, as families, as parishes, and as school. It is our responsibility. If we're going to learn, if we're going to enter back into harmony with the creation, if we're going to allow this jubilee for restoration, and if we're going to be part of the solution to hand this common home on to the next generation, far more secure than what we received it.
Because it's crunch time, guys. It's crunch time. His Grace has put out this Oikos, our home and our family. Papa Francis Laudato Si. You know, it is crunch time. 1.1 degrees. We only have a 0.4 to go before it's irreversible, and we are seeing the effects. Look at Trinidad and Tobago. Look at whatever country you're viewing this show. Haven't you recognized what's been happening? We see every single day people losing their roofs. We have people die through landslips and so on. We had a young lady washed away in the river. They found her,
Wow.
you know, they found her, you know, and I'm just saying, you know, to her family, you know, we're praying for you guys, but, you know, that again, washed away by rising flood waters.
Wow, wow.
You know, and this is all within the last couple of days, you know.
But it's been really crazy. But again, we all have a part to play. We all can do something. We all can restore the harmony back to where it's supposed to be. We all have to find a way to protect this common home we call Earth.
Because of the urgent nature of the crisis, through the Franciscan Institute for Personal and Family Development, you're seeing that we've opened a local branch of Laudato Si movement, formerly the Global Catholic Climate Movement.
Correct.
Which, is it here in Trinidad?
It is already here, sir. It is already here. As we speak, it has already been set up here in Trinidad. And it's ready to help people become conscious of our responsibility to the common.
So if just as we're talking here, if anybody wanted to get involved, go to catholictt.org.
catholictt.org, and you'll find your way in. Social justice website or Facebook page, you'll find a lot of things on Season of Creation there. Go to the Franciscan Institute, you'll find a lot of stuff there also. Great.
All right, but guys, you all got it. You can't see it, didn't see it, you don't know about it. Archbishop told us where we can go and find out the information. So remember, it's a vocation as well as a moral responsibility for us to guard and protect our environment, guard and protect nature.
Our common home.
Our common home.
So, you know, this urgency is something that we really have to deal with. But the only way we're going to get past this is what is being called ecological conversion. How you like that? Yeah? Ecological conversion. Transforming our lifestyles and calling for bold public policies together with the wider climate movement. We have to have a conversion of heart to the ecology. I know how hard it is to really understand what it is we are doing to impact the earth. But trust me, every one of us adding a little bit is a couple billion of us, you know. So everybody add a little bit, boom. It's you know, overused, overstretched. So that ecological conversion, the transforming of our lifestyle, and the call for bold public policies together with the wider climate movement, that's how we will move forward out of this. We'll understand, we'll undertake several actions as an archdiocese to educate and to invite all people of goodwill to ecological conversion.
Boy, I hear about all kind of conversion, but this is the first step I'm hearing about that ecological conversion, and it's needed.
Well, econo, to build a house, conversion towards the house, conversion towards those who dwell in the house, conversion to those who dwell in the house because it's God's family, because He created them, and it's us bending our heart to serve that, which is more important than me, because it represents the very thing that we need to keep living. It's quite something. So we'll have all kind of education things, we'll have initiatives. All people of goodwill are invited to it. We will also work tirelessly to eradicate single-use plastic from the use of our church within at least a given time frame. We're looking at a couple of years that we will no longer be seeing single-use plastic in our churches. Now, a regular family could do that immediately. Do it. Some people need a lot more time to understand, to read and see. But let's not lose the opportunity. Let's work to ban single-use plastic from our spaces. And if all of us do that, that makes a big impact back to the economy, especially to the economy when and to the environment when you have this urgency and you have to find ways now to really secure our common.
Good. So people, we've got to all get involved because it's our vocation, it's our moral responsibility, and it has to be done now. We can't leave it for the next 10 years, and you can do it simply in your homes. Archbishop shared with you that. I mean, I know in my own home, we recycle a lot of the plastics. So therefore, we would use plastic containers that you would probably get your, let me give you anything, you'll get maybe your yogurt, and then you would say, all right, but here's what we're going to do with this container. We will use it, and we will pack our nuts that we get from another plastic. And all right, so this is our nuts jar here, and therefore recycling a lot. And they say that only about between 3 and 10% of all recycled plastic is put back into use, The rest goes into landfills, or a lot of that goes into the seas. So that's a small amount that is recycled.
Yeah.
Coming up with a plan for.
And what we do know is that when the plastics go into the waterways, it kills the fish. Yeah. Because the fish ingest it. Sometimes plastic rings get around the neck of a fish or a turtle or of anything like that. And so it's really about ecological conversion.
What's your key message?
Living our vocation to be protectors of God's handiwork is essential to a life of virtue. Okay. If you want to live a life of virtue, then you live your vocation to protect God's handiwork.
Action step.
Reflect on your use, my use of electricity, water, and single-use plastics, including disposable bottles. Identify the ways to reduce your family's use in these areas.
Nice. And you go into the restaurants, or you're buying your takeaway foods because we can't dine in now, so they give you some plastic spoons. So guess what? You could reuse the plastic spoons. Plastic spoons are good for pepper sauce. So when you want to, you could keep your plastic. So I'm just sharing with you. And what is the passage of the day? What's our scripture reading?
Our scripture reading comes from Exodus. The Lord said to Moses on Mount Sinai, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land I'm going to give you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath to the Lord. For 6 years sow your fields, and for 6 years prune your vineyards and gather your crops. But in the 7th year, the Lord is to have a year of Sabbath rest, a Sabbath of the Lord. So do not sow your fields or prune your vineyards during that year. Do not reap what grows of itself, or harvest the grapes, or all the unattended vines. The land is to have a year of rest."
Wow. Beautiful.
Even the livestock,
Yeah.
even the livestock have to be rested. But God is so good. Amen. So let us pray. Father, we thank you for this teaching on ecology on the earth, our common home. And we ask, Lord, and pray that you show us a way forward, that we may allow the regeneration of the earth, that we may care and till it, that we may allow for all of its regeneration, oh God, that we connect, Lord, with you through the creation so often. Help us to respect it, to love it, and care for it. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you so much, Archbishop Jay. God bless you. And everybody, tune in. You all know when the show is. Go get your Catholic news also. God bless you.